Hi, welcome back to the Quality Cup Life podcast. My name is Imani, and here we talk about how to live a better quality of life for young adults, how to make your own decisions, and how to create the life that you want to live instead of letting other people tell you how to live. All right, so before we get into the episode, I wanted to talk to you guys about joining the free Zoom call on Monday so we can talk more about things like this and how to get to your goals and work and what maybe the blocks are and helping you guys work through it. And I would love to just chat with you guys. It's 30 minutes on Monday from 6:30 to 7. So if you would love to or interested in joining a call with me so we can just kind of chat and hang out for 30 minutes, that would be cool. Go to qualitycuplife.com and scroll down on the home page and click the button that says join our free Zoom call. You just enter in your name and like your email address and your phone number so that way you can get text reminders for it, and then the Zoom link of course will be sent to you. But all right, thanks, and let's get into the show. All right, y'all, what's up? It's Imani from Quality Cup Life, and for this podcast I want to talk about Spiderman. So I just watched Spiderman Into the Spider-Verse, and I didn't really know what to expect, but it was a lot more layered than I expected it to be, and it was pretty good. I had been hearing for a while that it was good, and then me and my cousin was like, man, we gotta watch it, it's good. So I watched it with her, and I'm doing another sort of reaction on what I got from, like, life lessons from what I got from the movie, okay? So, and also, if you haven't seen the movie, spoiler alert, just saying, if you haven't watched it, go watch it and then come back and watch this. Or you can watch it and you'll just know what's going on. Okay. And these are in absolutely no particular order, so just stay to the end and listen or watch to the end, okay? So the first thing that I made a list, and so the first thing on my list that I learned from watching the Spider-Man movie is that extraordinary things can happen to just ordinary people, whether that be on purpose or by accident. So what happened with Miles, the Spider-Man in this movie, the kid's name is Miles. Miles, it happened completely by accident. He was not trying to be Spider-Man. He was just trying to get through life and make it as a middle schooler, I think, or high school, something like that. He was just trying to make it through, and he just happened to get bitten by a radioactive spider. And so with that, don't think that just because you feel like your life is boring or mundane, don't think that you can't experience great things in life. That doesn't mean that you aren't great or you don't have some type of greatness in you just because you feel like your life is boring or too normal. And so I thought that was a pretty good lesson, because I know some people like that who just think that there's nothing special about them or their life or what they have in them. And so that's pretty sad to me, but yeah, I thought about that. And then another cool thing I was thinking was that at the beginning of the movie, Miles Morales, he feels like super alone, and his parents have him going to this like private school outside of his neighborhood, right? And so he lives in, I think, Brooklyn. And so around his neighborhood, when he's on the way to school, he's like, hey man, what's up? And they're like, oh, what's up, Miles? And he's dapping everybody up, and he's cool with everybody in the neighborhood. But when he goes across town and he tries to do the same thing, nobody pays him any attention. Nobody says hey to him. Like, he's just super isolated, and he feels like alone and everything like that. And then once he gets, bitten by the spider and everything, he learns that with the gang, I'm not as alone as I thought I was, and I'm never alone. Even though in the moment, like, you might be technically by yourself, but just know that your struggle is not just your own. There's plenty of other people who are going through, if not the exact same thing, very similar things as you. So just don't feel so alone, and don't let that to kind of let you sink, deeper into the hole of despair. Okay, and then so the third thing I thought about when watching Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is that it is very important to cherish the people that you have in your life, especially the ones that do love and support you and support your dreams and your goals, because you never know how long you have them. You don't know how long anybody has on this earth, but you don't know how long you have those people, so don't take them for granted. Appreciate their appreciation and their support, because you never know how long you have them. And in this movie, his uncle was the one that supported his art because he wanted to be an artist, and he knew how to like do graffiti very well and things like that. So, and his uncle was like, all right, yeah, he was like supportive in that, whereas his parents didn't really think it was, I guess, an avenue to a career or whatever. And so, yeah, Miles kind of felt like his uncle was the only person he could lean on and stuff like that. So, you got somebody like that, hold on to him and cherish him. I'm looking for my phone, it's right here. Okay. The fourth thing is that at least from what I've seen, on the path to success, everybody loses somebody. And I think it's a good idea to do what Miles did in the movie, or what I think Miles did in the movie was to use their memory to push them forward instead of using their memory to sink into a deep, dark black hole of depression. And just turn your light off. You don't want to use the loss of somebody as a reason to turn your light off and go dark. You know, you want to use that to keep your light shining and shine brighter, if that makes sense. And I'm so glad he did that, because if he didn't, then shoot, it would have been possibly multiple universes that would have got destroyed had he not decided to do that. And then the other Spidey people, they actually needed his help. They didn't know that they needed his help, but they needed his help. And he would never been able to help them had he decided to, spiral. The fifth thing that I got from it is don't be surprised when you find out that your arch enemy or your opposition, or what people say the ops, don't be surprised if the ops is somebody who is close to you. And the crazy thing about your ops being somebody close to you is that that'll really throw you off your game. And it's crazy. It's crazy how what's the phrase, keep your enemies close and your friends closer, or something like that. You guys know what I'm talking about. But just don't be surprised by that. Don't be side-eyeing everybody and be suspicious of everybody, but just keep your eyes peeled. You just don't be surprised, and just know that sometimes things like that happen, and it's unfortunate, but you still got to keep going. So yeah, or kind of like the last podcast episode, and I was talking about unsupportive people. Sometimes those unsupportive people are under your own roof, or they're your parents or your friends, supposed to be your best friends or your family or whatever. You never know, so just be aware of that. And when you're aware of it, at least you can kind of prepare and know what's up. Whereas when something just completely takes you by surprise, that's kind of a lot harder to get over. So, okay, so the fifth, something like that. The next thing that I listed that I learned from Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is that when you start to become extraordinary, and when you really lean into it, you start to link up with people just like you, and that are also leaning into that as well, leaning into the extraordinary, leaning into success, leaning into purpose. You start to link up with those same people, and the people who aren't on that kind of get faded into the background, which is usually a good thing, because then you can just start to go up and up, and you get better and better. Whereas when you stay with people who are just on a lower level, you just stay there. Usually, I mean, it's hard to go up when you're with people who can only take you but so far, who can only understand you up to a certain point, up to a certain level. So I thought that was dope, and I see that everywhere. So that is so true. Man, kids, animations, just animations in general have the sauce if you pay attention. I'm trying to tell you. Okay, the next thing is that although sometimes we feel alone or we're physically by ourselves a lot, although it's uncomfortable for some experiences and some people, it usually kind of breeds growth, and you get to learn a lot more about yourself. You're not as distracted by all the circus that's going around or all the people. You pay attention to things more, and then you have a chance to like develop your gifts and your strengths and your path more, because you don't have all the distractions and the friends and the events you got to go to, and you got to be aware and conscious aware of this person's feelings and that person's feelings, or what this person wants, that person wants. All you need to do is focus on yourself when you're alone, and so that just helps you to develop so much quicker than having a bunch of other people's drama or whatever going on around you. And then also, you have more room for failure, and you don't have to feel like you have to make it look a certain way because there's nobody paying attention to you. So you can fail and look as dumb as you want to look because nobody's paying attention to you. So you have more boldness typically about you and what you do, because you're not trying to impress anybody, because nobody's looking for you and nobody's checking for you, nobody cares. So you can use that time to really develop. And okay, so the next thing I thought was really cool about the movie that I learned, or that I was kind of reminded by, personal development wise, was that when you're freshly developing something, like Miles, he got, of course, bit by the radioactive spider, and he was learning how to like stick and unstick to buildings and ceilings and things, and he like discovered he had 2 new superpowers that, you know, of course, it took time for him to develop over time and throughout the movie. The cool thing is that once you learn how to do it the right way, because Peter Parker was like his mentor sort of, and kind of showing him some of the ropes and some of the other Spidey people as well. But once he got better at the end of the movie, he was able to put his own spin on things and how he wanted to do things, and not just powers wise, but also the suit. Because the way he rocked the suit was like somebody made it right after, you know, the original Peter Parker suit, but at the end he put his own spin to it. He had like the J's on, and he made the suit black, and like all kind of like just put his own spin on things. But sometimes, you know, at the beginning, it's not the time to put your own spin on things. The time is to learn the basics. And when I was in school for graphic design, there was a acronym, KISS, keep it simple, stupid. And you just keep things real simple and basic while you're in the beginning stages and while you're learning. And then, you know, another thing my professors used to tell us was, you learn the rules so you can learn how to break them. And that's the same thing with photography, film, anything. You learn the proper way to do things, so that way you have the foundational, you know, principles down, so that way later you can see how and when it's appropriate for you to manipulate them. So kind of like lawyers, they learn the laws, and then later on they learn how to get through the loopholes. But that's the only way you can do loopholes, and you can see the loopholes if you learn the laws. So it's kind of like that. Hope that's a helpful analogy. Another cool thing was, man, Aunt May was so dope. Peter's Aunt May, she was so great, and she was so dope, and she was so smart. And you know how in most like Spider-Man movies, Aunt May is just kind of like background character. Like, you don't really know much about Aunt May. You just know she's the sweet older aunt who's, you know, so really supportive of Peter and everything. And from this movie, I learned that greatness is sometimes hidden in plain sight. Because after Peter Parker died in the movie, all the spider people went to Aunt May to see if Aunt May could help them. And at first, they didn't want to go to her because they're like, man, she's grieving. I don't really want to bother her. And then when they got there and they knocked on the door, she was like, yo, what's good? I've been waiting on y'all. And they were like, what? And then also, she had the Jimmy Neutron shed in the back. Like, y'all remember Jimmy Neutron, where you go in the it looks like an ordinary shed, and they had like freaking facial or eye recognition or hair. I think Jimmy had the hair recognition thing. She got in the thing, and it was a whole underground, like, Batcave type of thing. And they had all of Spider-Man's suits and gadgets and cars and all kind of, it was literally like a Batcave, but for Spider-Man. And it was literally, everybody knew who Aunt May was. Everybody knew where her house was. Everybody could see the shed, all of that. But nobody knew how gangster Aunt May was and how like, she had all the juice, she had all the weapons, she had everything, but nobody knew because it was hidden in plain sight. So even the villains didn't even think to go and destroy or try Aunt May. They didn't think to do that. They just left the little old lady alone, but she had something for them though. So I thought that was like really, really dope. And then the next thing that I thought was really cool that I got from the Spider-Man movie was that the little piggy version of Spider-Man, I think it was the scene where Miles went back to his like dorm room or whatever, and he was super upset, and all the spider people came back found him at his dorm, and he was really upset, and the piggy guy said something really deep. He said, the hardest part is you can't save everyone, kid. And I was just like, yo, that's a word. I was like, that's a whole word. And that's so true, whether it could be death, or it could be you're growing and you're getting better and you're going to another level and you want to take people with you. You can't always do that. Sometimes people want to stay where they are, or they don't want to change, or they don't want to level up their actions or behaviors or habits. But they want a piece of your success or money or whatever. Or sometimes people have, those people who have kids who start to make bad decisions, and you do this to help them and that to help them, but they always end up back in trouble, or they always need something else because they didn't, get it together. You can't save everybody. That's so true. That's so true. You can't put the responsibility on yourself for everybody. The main person you have responsibility for is you. And even if you have kids, you're responsible for them, but you can't control their actions. They decide what they're gonna do. Either way. So the next thing, I thought this was kind of funny, but so for most of the movie, after Miles realized, I have spider powers now, my man had on the knockoff Spider-Man suit. It had like the back cut out. It wasn't even a full suit. It was just a mess. It looked so bootleg. And I was thinking, I thought it was funny at first, but then I started thinking, I was like, sometimes I was thinking like how so true that is, or like sometimes you have to start off with bootleg like equipment, or bootleg like sometimes, for example, sometimes people shoot their YouTube videos, they might start off with a cell phone and then they upgrade, or if you're into film like me, you might start off with your cell phone making videos, and then you upgrade to a DSLR camera, and then you go from that to a full frame camera, and then you go from like a really short cheap lens like the Nifty 50, and then you go up to like a full like prime lens or whatever. Sometimes you have to start somewhere, but just because your suit or your equipment or your whatever it is that you have isn't top notch, isn't level, that doesn't give you an excuse to not do what you need to do and go after it anyway. So I thought that was like a super cool, super keen lesson. And it was kind of funny too to see him in the bootleg suit. And then the last thing that I thought was really cool, it was still in the same scene where all the Spidey gang met Miles in his dorm room, and Peter Parker was like, you know, you're not ready, kid. I need you to stay here. I'm gonna save the people, and I'm gonna be the reason why everybody goes home, and I'll just, you know, sacrifice myself. And Miles Morales, he was like, no, I want to help. You guys need me. You need to go home too. And he kind of was like, nah, man. So he kind of, you know, tied him in a chair, sort of. And Miles was like, well, how do I know when I'm ready? And he was like, you don't, kid. It's a leap of faith. And I was just like, yo, that is so true. Like, you never know, you're never going to be fully ready. You just have to, you just have to leap and kind of figure it out on the way down. That's like for everything, really. You even if you do prepare like crazy, you're never going to be prepared for everything. You know how like first time moms, they like read the baby books and they watch all the videos and they, you know, learn how the process of birth is supposed to go and what happens when you do this and that. But like, nothing prepares you fully for being in the experience of having a kid, or even after the birthing process. Your kid isn't probably going to be the stereotypical kid that you read about in the baby books. Like your kid might be on some other stuff. Like you won't really know until you experience it. And that's one of the cool things that I learned from Mel Robbins when I took her Building Self-Confidence online course, and also Peter Voog, I think 6 Months to Six Figures. Both of them were talking about how, well, Peter was talking about how you don't know something until you experience it. You don't, just because you know something intellectually doesn't mean that you actually know it. You know it when you experience and you walk through it. And then Mel was talking about how you gain confidence by doing stuff over and over. Even if you do something and you're not good at it and you fail, you get better and better, and you build more confidence once you do it over and over again until you learn how to get it right. And so I thought that was like really, really cool, because that's for everything. You don't know what you're going to get yourself into, or you might be kind of aware, but you don't know how the experience is going to go for you. And man, it has a whole word, and I was just like, yo, this is real. Man, nobody can tell me that animations are for kids, man. They have all of the lessons in it that a kid, it'll go, but if like you on some grown stuff, and you like working on yourself and you trying to get your life together, man, the animations have it for you. They have that juice for you. So let me know if there's anything, some things I may have missed. Most of this came off of just my memory. I watched it like 2 days ago, so I don't know if this is all right. And if you let me know also if you liked the movie and what you thought about it. I'd love to know what you guys thought. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye.